Well, welcome everyone, and thank you very much. This is, we're going to spend about 45 minutes together. We'll use the first portion of this to talk through some of the challenges we're seeing in the market and things that you might be able to do to help your clients. And then we'll have a conversation about what you're seeing, how this might play out for your advisory business. So, a couple of weeks ago, I put out a blog post that talked about, there's an inevitable recession coming. Now, we are not in a recession. The stock market has certainly taken a hit, but I wanted to talk about time to market planning and that 25th growth driving objective, which is synchronizing our plans or considering the strength of the market in our planning for growth and for transferable value. What I did not anticipate, and I apologize, I made a crack in that post about sometimes feeling queasy when we look at our portfolios. What I did not anticipate, and my apologies, my crystal ball did not anticipate that the stock market would do what it has done. So we live in a and what I'd said a couple of weeks ago is that, the data tells us that you should prepare your clients for a recession immediately. And I was bold enough to call it the 2025-26 recession because these are inevitable to do. And let's talk about why I thought that a recession, very different than a correction in the market, and I know we all know that, is inevitable. Recessions come roughly every 9 years. We can debate the recession in 1980 and then in 81, 82. Was that one recession? Was it two? But generalities, roughly every decade, we have a recession. So we know that recessions are come and go. That's the important thing, and go. And why are we predicting that we may see a recession and that we should talking to our clients about creating resilience right now? Well, that's because, as we see playing out in the market, and these are screenshots from today out of Google News, there are some economic indicators that suggest that a recession may be in the wings. Now, public sentiment is what drives recessions, right? Market corrections, bear markets, and recessions are not the same thing, and this is not an economics lesson. You guys all know that. But the Dow is certainly the S&P 500 have taken some hits over the last. This is just a 5-day window. And you can see, we've gone from 41,000 to 38,000. That's for the Dow, the S&P 500 similar, NASDAQ similar. See, we hopefully have found a floor there, but this all goes to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And this has made immediate the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that our clients are probably experiencing. And Bill, you asked a question, when in the green room, so to speak, before we started about, I haven't even looked at the market yet. Imagine how, if we are feeling this, our clients are in all likelihood feeling similar fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that's an opportunity. And I'm not trying to make hay out of misfortune, but that's an opportunity to call our clients and say, hey, how are you doing? Let's talk about what you might be able to do. Well, I was making this argument in advance of the recession that is inevitable, but the stock market may make this a very immediate conversation that we can have. So a lot of uncertainty out there, and we've all felt it, right? So I'm lucky enough to sit at the middle of a spider's web, and you are all reporting, or generally reporting, that your clients are feeling that this has been an uncertain period since the beginning of the year. Got it. This is not a political commentary. This has nothing to do with politics. This simply has to do with market realities. So we all want to grow our advisory businesses, right? And we want to expand our reach and relevance. We want to prove the value that we deliver to our client. And the questions become, there's some hows there, right? How do we help our clients gain total clarity about what they're going to need to do to get the success they want? How do we help them create total clarity about how to make their business resilient so that in the inevitable economic downturns, they remain They remain nimble, dynamic, able to react to the market according to a plan rather than simply being reactionary. And how do you prove your relevance? And we can talk about this in a few minutes, but there's a key question. Who is calling your client right now? And my argument, my admonition to you guys is you should be. And not, hey, hire me to come in. This is how are you doing? I can run a free analysis and generate a report that might give you some ideas on where to focus to create predictable to bring stability to your profits and cash flow, predictability, and to make sure that you maintain growth in the face of these headwinds, whether we see an economic downturn now or down the road. By the way, the fact that a recession will come is inevitable. It's part of our capitalist system. Love capitalism. We're only really arguing about how deep and how long, right? How bad might it be? So this might be a good time to call our clients. And this conversation applies to you, right? If you're a growth advisor, a CPA, an exit planner, wealth advisor, an M&A professional, a fractional CFO, this conversation applies to you. Guys, CPAs right now, tough time of year to try to pick up the phone and call your clients. You know, this kind of underscores the rigidity of your business model. Some firms are branching out. Huzzah. Growth advisors, you guys, this is 100% a relevant and important and valuable call for you to make, a valuable consultation for you to have with your clients. Same with exit planners. And we're going to talk about how recessions can impact exits. Wealth advisors are probably picking up the phone and calling. The stock market does impact them directly. And I'm sorry, guys and gals. M&A transactions, there will be, if there's a recession, there's a flight to quality. We'll talk through all of this. Now, something we need to keep in mind, and for those of you who are not inside the Growth Drive community yet, join us, please. Free. Come on in. The water is warm. We review the world through an advisory spectrum of 1 to 5. And we ask often, are you a 1 or a 5? 1 are talkers. And there are a lot of talkers out there, especially in exit planning. The 2s, 3s, and 4s is the prevalent representation in our community. People who want to educate their clients about resilience, about exit options, about strategic options, strategic intent, etc. Planners, okay, well, now I'm going to create the exit plan. I want to create the strategic plan. And doers, the co-driver, the person who's going to act as the peer with the CEO as the plan is executed over time. Those long-term engagements where at some level and with some regular frequency, we're interacting with the client and earning an equitable compensation in the process. We also have 5. That 5 is fractional, which is really a co-driver on steroids, a specialized co-driver. This community includes the entire spectrum, mostly 2s, 3s, and 4s. And ask yourself, where do you want to play? And then ask yourself, let's say you want to be a 2 or a 3. And then that's where you want your advisory business stops. Fantastic. With whom will you collaborate to lead the client forward? You don't simply want to buy them a map. You want to make sure that they take that map and go on a journey, right? Who will guide them on that journey? And I would argue that there are plenty of professionals and diverse professionals, as you saw in this community, with whom you can collaborate. Excuse me. Now, a lot of people in this community are earning the C3D, the certification in the 3 dimensions of growth. Some choose not to. Great. It's not a prerequisite. There's one thing that we have in common. We all understand, have seen, and have taken the advisor's pledge. And what is the advisor's pledge? And this is very important. We honor our respective relationship and role with the client. And I'm talking especially wealth advisors to you. Growth advisors honor and respect your immortal relationship with the client. Your relationship transcends the client's career typically, and you have the most. We actually teach, and people understand that you probably have the most financial risk and reputational risk with your client. So we honor and respect your role and relationship. We collaborate regularly, including on execution updates. We believe in open communication. So you are not going to be wondering what's happening inside. None of us on the advisory team should be in the dark as to what is going on and why. Doesn't mean that we're involved. but we know what's going on, what the different disciplines are doing. And imagine if the attorney, the accountant, the growth advisor, the wealth advisor are all communicating regularly about the client. And by the way, out of the client's earshot, they'll be stunned and thrilled that you guys are having these conversations. We will not cause you to lose face in front of, no one is going to cause another advisor to lose face in front of the client. If we have disagreements, we settle them out in private. And then we leverage our respective expertise to optimize work needed to deliver the client's intent. It's the client's intent. So advisor's pledge is important. We teach it in C3D. We honor it. I wrote this for a reason, and it's good stuff. It's part of the glue that makes this community so great. Well, just click through the 7 elements of the growth drive advisory process, because this is relevant to you, whether you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We discover intent. We educate the client. We analyze. You can hear this playing out. We analyze their strategic capacity. We're going to talk about strategic capacity in a sec. And then we design a plan to increase strategic capacity. Now, in advance of a recession, let's put this in the context of this talk. In advance of a recession, we may need to go back and say, whoa, these economic events, outside forces might cause us to change our plan, the timing, where we focus, etc., and might cause us right now to say to our client, let's go back and look at dimension 1. This will make sense in a sec, and make sure that you have high strength, high capacity to generate predictable profits and cash flow. Okay. So all of this, a lot of this is in my book, and I bring the book up because inside the book, there is this methodology and process for helping clients create strong, resilient, best-in-class businesses. And that plays out in our software, as you'll see in a sec. And the book is really centered around the 3 dimensions of business growth. So we want to help our clients increase their strategic capacity in the 3 dimensions of business growth. So it's very, very relevant to preparing for or weathering a recession, not a stock market dump. The 3 dimensions are predictable profits and cash flow, predictable sustainable growth, and predictable transferable business value, right? And that profits and cash flow, and we're going to focus on this. This is your launch pad for growth. This is your bedrock. That's what allows the rocket to push off and go on its mission, okay? Sustainable growth, let's create a business that is highly likely to continue growing even when economic headwinds are trying to slow it down, all the while creating the processes and more that it takes to have to make it highly likely to successfully complete an M&A or similar transaction. Cool? So just take a sec. These 50,000 CEO interviews, these 3 stats are what caused me to describe the 3 dimensions of growth. So all of your clients in normal times are receptive to this message, and in challenging times, which we may find ourselves in, or which may come sooner than any of us would hope. If we want to soften the blow of a recession, the more businesses with high strategic capacity out there, the softer the recession would be. Increasing strategic capacity. Strategic capacity drives growth and value, and you want to be having a conversation with your client about the aspects of their business that are going to lend themselves to growth and to achieving a high multiple at the deal table. Okay, so let's bring this back around to an economic recession. Creating a resilient, best-in-class business. Best-in-class businesses, it's that business, and I've said this, you've heard, if you've watched I say this often, the best-in-class businesses are those businesses that year after year, in good times and in bad, tend to continue to grow. They are there, they are calm, they are executing on a plan, and they are resilient. They are able to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. They are able to navigate these economic tough times in a way that other businesses that don't have a plan can't. Strategic capacity drives growth and value. And let's dig in. I put this very complicated slide up because Many of you were going to ask for this deck, and I wanted to have a comprehensive. Let's summarize. Strategic capacity defines a business's ability to consistently execute its intent. Okay. Now I'm not going to get into intent, but let's just say that 62% of the time the intent is to grow. Another 21% of the time it's to be easier to run. By the way, helping a business increase strategic capacity in dimension 1, predictable profits and cash flow, the data is in. Revenues pop, and you've created a business that is more valuable. So we're going to dig in here on dimension 1. Many of you have seen this slide before. Where we're going to focus today when we're talking about a recession is here, predictable profits and cash flow. And these are dimensions, right? So it's not rigid. This is a dynamic system where we might want to pull strategic planning out of the growth dimension and bring it into, okay, let's have a plan. Let's have a plan well in advance of any economic downturn and create a plan to increase over the next few months our strategic capacity in this first dimension of growth. Now, there's something unique about Growth Drive that you won't find in other systems, and that is that we consider, we talk about, we look at, we measure. We educate our client to consider how the M&A market, which is that is driven by the stock market, impacts their transferable equity value, right? And get our clients thinking about how where the market is going to impact the value they could get for their business. Never mind their ability to grow their business. Okay, so that's a unique. And profits and cash flow are critical. Profits and cash flow are the launch pad for growth. Cash is the lifeblood of businesses. I can use all of these tried and true analogies, but we really want to create a bedrock, a launch pad for this business on which it can stand and withstand the forces that are beyond its control. Now, something we started doing is creating client-facing talking points based on all of these, and there will be a set based on this on today's conversation. So, listen, Madam CEO, did you know that getting your leadership team aligned and accountable to your goals enables faster responses to turbulence? Here is literally, you can read this yourselves, but it begs the question, tell me, how might this help you? Let's get our clients saying, when you pick up the phone and call your client, these are the types of questions the education you want to be delivering, and then those big wide open questions. Who's been in our facilitation training? Those type A and type B questions. The type B question that is going to help the client imagine a better future working with you. Did you know that, when your business builds strategic capacity, it allows you to continue investing in key areas while competitors are cutting back? Imagine how this might apply to you. Do you have a couple of ideas that come to mind? So these are powerful messages, powerful questions that you might consider, you should consider, please do, call your client and have this conversation today. So what does this look like in practice? And we're going to get a little deeper here in a sec. If we just focus on dimension 1, capacity, we have a business that can run smoothly without the CEO, the business owner, that has accurate financial information with dollar signs and other metrics, right? KPIs, strong margins at or above the industry norm, predictable cash flow, and a team that is a team. I use that word, that's an active word, a team that is accountable for consistently meeting targets. Who doesn't want that, right? And this is what we can educate our client. You twos, if you everyone who's a 5 is a 2 also. This is your 2. This is educating the client. And remember, we prove our value by delivering value. Prove your value to your client by delivering value immediately. So let's dig in. What are things we could be doing with our clients immediately? Well, one is it's generic. It's not easy, but it is very well understood, building strategic capacity. And our tools and methodology and process are proven to build strategic capacity, and it's critical. Now, if you have a client who just a few weeks ago was thinking they wanted to sell in the next 12 to 18 months, increasing strategic capacity has just taken on an additional level of critical importance. If they're planning an internal transfer, again, predictable profits and cash flow. If you're going to be, when you do an internal transfer, often the business owner, the current owner, holds the note, is getting paid out of future cash flow. Predictable profits and cash flow, it's in the name, protects future cash flow. Again, highly relevant if they're doing an exit, whether it's a third party or internal. And then this fourth bullet point, I can't overstate it. Prepare to go to ground. If you calculate your profits, just on with a fraction, he's an attorney and a fractional CFO, bless his heart. We were talking about calculating profitability by product and service, by client, and I would argue also by sales rep, but let's leave that aside. By product and service and by client. If you have that data, imagine the options that having that data clear and accurate and timely gives your client. If they need to make cuts, they can react quickly, more quickly than the competition, and do it wisely. And so planning, having data for the plan is important. Now, if you think about this work, there is no downside, right? There is absolutely no downside. If you increase strategic capacity and we don't see a recession this year, if I'm wrong, and I hope I am, right? If I'm wrong, increasing strategic capacity is going to create a business that is predictably and sustainably growing its free cash flow. Who doesn't want that? That is easier to run, that can operate without your client working 60 hours a week. Who doesn't want that, right? There is no downside. So make this call immediately. The timing is now. Okay, I'm going to take, this is not a demo, but I think I've just hammered, I've just whipped the horse on why. Why would our clients care? Why do we care? Why should we be having this call? Let's talk about how. I'm going to move quickly. If you want a demo, call us. Clarity is Growth Drive's software. It is an analysis of strategic capacity and business value. And here, this is a whiteboard. There is a ton in the box. Okay, there are 10 different modules in the box, and they are all interconnected and incredibly powerful. How does this break down? 5 discovery tools. These are tools you should be using with your client during this discovery consultation. Hey, let's make sure that you are ready to weather a storm if and when it comes. Clarity level 1. One question on each of those 24 growth driving objectives, plus the bonus question. Have you considered how the market impacts your ability to monetize the value of your business with all the implications there? Okay. There are also 5 strategic planning tools. If the client says, heck yes, I want to do this work, you have tools, knowledge development, training, and support, very sophisticated support that is available to you. Much of that support is peer-to-peer. There are a number of you on this call who are very active in our community and are helping each other. This is a community of collaborative, like-minded people. So strategic planning tools, an engagement process. We help you understand what your colleagues are charging for these services. And this is an unfortunate build, but how do all of the software tools tie into the process? Okay, we lay this all out for you. And whether you want to play simply in the educating the client, creating the plan, co-driving the business, the execution leadership system, Growth Drive has all of these tools for you. Okay. A fundamental question. How are you set up for growing profits and value? What does your resilience look like? And in dimension 1, here, I'm just sharing with you. And again, we'll send you the deck. What types of questions? So imagine if you're saying to your client, okay, we're going to make sure you're over the next several months, we're going to make sure that you have an effective senior leadership team and the business can run smoothly in your absence. Your people are productive and loyal. That means that they are very efficient. So we're going to increase efficiency and minimize turnover. Turnover is expensive. We're going to maximize recurring revenues. Let's make sure that our clients are at the table. And if you think back to those talking points, one of the talking points is about recurring revenue. It's something that clients sometimes take for granted. Margins, are our margins at or above the industry norm? Let's get them there. Are we getting good data out of are we getting good financial reporting, dollar sign and otherwise? Do we have a sales process so that we understand how people are winning new clients? And if we need to apply more focus or measure people against that process, we can. Operating processes deliver on the promises made to the market by sales in a way that is timely and accurate. and high customer sat. That's what we call colloquially the crazy eight. Imagine what it takes to consistently generate high customer satisfaction, customers who are going to be loyal, customers who are going to evangelize for you, high customer sat. You have to get many of these other things, growth driving objectives, right. And high customer sat powers recurring revenue. It feeds recurring revenue, right? It feeds the ability to charge a premium to get our margins up, etc. And if we understand our profitability by product, service, and client, imagine how this all plays out as well, right? So we ask, and you will ask, if you use Clarity Level 1, you'll ask your clients, and you could be doing this afternoon with your clients, right? Listen, Madam CEO, how would it feel to run a business? How would it feel if we take your business from where it is today to where all of these answers are yes? Yes, I have an effective senior leadership team. Yes, my people are productive and loyal. Yes, I have a high percentage of recurring revenue. Yes, I have gross and net margins above the industry norm, etc. How would that feel? Is that a business that you would want to run? Because it's within your power to get it there. I'd be happy to help. When do we start? Okay. Screenshots that come out of the reports. Guys, there's a tremendous amount in here. So there's an inevitable recession coming. We should be out in front of our clients. We should be talking to them. We should be talking with our COIs and saying, hey, might this be a good time to engage with clients on this critical issue of strategic capacity and resilience in the face of these uncertain markets? I'm not cheering for uncertain markets. No one is, right? But it's an economic reality. So all of your clients need this work. They need to have this conversation. You could be educating them all and ask yourself, if you're just leaving seeds behind, how great might the rewards be down the road? Now, in a month, 3 months? This is a great way to prove your value. We prove our value by delivering value. And imagine if you're able to give them this level 1 report. You can download it on the website or an excerpt on the website, or we'll send you one. Just ask. You're proving your value. You were saying, I understand how to make your business resilient. And if we work together, you are going to you have nothing to lose. And getting started with Growth Drive is easy. And we do promise a 1 client ROI. If you think about the fully loaded cost of the system and what you generate from a client in a year, you're about a 10x. Okay. So 1 client ROI. You don't have anything to lose. Let's have these conversations. Okay. Now with that, I'm going to open up the mics. And guys, there's a bibliography. I skipped over it. When you get this deck, there's a bibliography with a bunch of resources, and we will create talking points, client-facing talking points for you to use when you're having these conversations, okay? We've already started that. We started 2 weeks ago with my original post, and we'll keep it going. Right. Thank you. And now, open mic. Happy to let's kick open the conversation. Anybody have questions, suggestions, think that I'm completely off base? Tim, I see you deep in thought.
I think my mind is just scanning the different scenarios that could come up in this conversation with clients. And I guess what I would do is just see where they feel vulnerable or where clarity reveals they're vulnerable, and then steer them in a direction of trying to shore that up. Is that what you would do in that environment?
I think that's a great idea. I mean, and you are a change, you are a change leader. You understand change better than most, and what might need to change inside the organization. That has a ripple effect, right? This isn't simply a, hey, tough times may be coming. There's a lot of uncertainty now. Let's boil the uncertainty at least out of this part of your world. But Tim, I think you're absolutely thinking in the right direction. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, and I can see too, like I said, this conversation is like leading me to a new perspective, a new view from within the Growth Drive process to the point where it could help to drive their sense of commitment to go deeper with this regard, just to prevent further vulnerability, downstream. It's not quite a "I told you so" thing, but you sort of strip away the luxury of having plenty of altitude, and all of a sudden they're motivated to take on all kinds of things. So I can see how it could also deepen the engagement.
Yes, that's the hope. How do we spark curiosity and spark action? Yeah, heck yes. It won't surprise you that I'm having these conversations with a lot of your colleagues. So timing is everything. Thomas, Bill, Barry, any questions? Barry, you've been in the market for a couple of years.
Um, yeah, I do have a comment and, um, right now, the signs lead that we might go into a recession or probably will go into a recession. But right now there are macroeconomic things going on in the world that my experience is that they are weighing heavily on many, many business owners, okay? Especially those owners that deal with any type of international trade or buy goods that are affected by the tariffs that are now real. And some of the pushback that I would think that we would get would be, I've got bigger problems right now of how do I deal with these macroeconomic things? Which leads to a lot of conversations that can have that if somebody were to go through the process, they would be able to deal with it. But boy, we really need to have that, sit back and think about, okay, how can we help our clients navigate an extraordinary complicated issue that very few know anything about?
Yeah.
On the news and on a lot of the publications, we're only getting a nanosecond of the real truth of what's in these in these proposals. Having practiced as a accountant and did a lot of tax work, when something's proposed, there's a lot that goes into it before it really becomes law. I think a lot of business owners are like, what do I do? And you need to look at, okay, what type of business are they in? Are these macroeconomic things affecting them? And what can the conversation lead to where I don't stick my foot in my mouth?
Yeah, heck yes, on that one.
Because it's complicated stuff.
It is, especially with the amount of emotion that is going to be running through right now. Barry, I completely agree. It is complicated stuff.
And take the politics out of it. I mean, we've got what we've got, and we have to just figure out how to deal with it. And there's been a lot of tax laws that have been passed over the last, 20, 30, 40 years that changed things for a long time, and they're complicated. So,
Yeah, I thoroughly agree. Yeah, which is why I kind of retrenched to, hey, let's look at the baseline and let's look at dimension one especially. We can run clarity one on the whole, which is all three of the dimensions, but let's look at our foundation and talk about things ways in which we might protect the business and not be moved. So let's play this out. Not be moved by the noise, but moved by principles. The principles are that we should have an effective senior leadership team, that we need to make sure that our people, that we're not going to be talk about a terrible time to have turnover in your staff potentially. Those types of principles as they play out.
yeah, and I agree with you, George, 100%, that if that baseline is in place, it mitigates tremendously all the noise going on around you. However, you still have that noise around you.
Yeah.
And you still have to deal with it. And you still have to get product on the shelves. and you still have to get it out the door. So it's not just a matter of focusing on getting a better management team or, getting processes in place. That's all well and good. But I can tell you that if you pick up the phone and you call a business owner and they're getting half their goods from a foreign entity, they're concerned about that.
Yes.
And I think that in preparing for a call, we need to be prepared to talk about that and how doing this could help mitigate some of that.
Yeah, you're spot on.
So, yeah, I know you're focused on, on the process, but we need to think about all the other stuff that's going on in the world right now, which we really haven't had in other recessions that I can remember as significant as it is today.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just fresh in minds that we think this one's different. It's not different. It's just different stuff.
Different. Yeah, I'm with you.
So I don't mean to give you pushback, but I'm giving you.
No. This is part of the conversation. You're not giving pushback, Barry. This is all part of the context, right? These are very real. I mean, your client, you're right. I mean, I have a friend who runs a business, and on the one hand, the Chinese imports that were being dumped into Canada, rebranded and then sold with an artificially depressed or an artificially adjusted currency, and he fights that. He was already fighting that fight. And so he's on the one hand, he's thrilled that that the current climate may put an end to that, but he imports all of his goods out of Europe. So he's, and in his brain right now, there's like steam coming out of his ears because he doesn't know which way to turn. And so, yeah, I hear you.
Well, I know of a retail business that imports 100% of their product. They sell foods made in foreign countries. Okay. A specialty food business. So you pick up the phone and talk to a specialty food business. How is that affected? One of my clients sells a lot of foods that are sourced in South America and in Mexico. How is that affected? So so we really need to understand the dynamics of the business and then have an intelligent conversation around how the process can help mitigate those issues that they are having and will have in the future.
What's going to be interesting is when we get in clarity level 1, in part of the intake, there's a question: what's your biggest business challenge right now? And I would imagine that is a fantastic conversation starter to your very, very valid point, Barry, which is, well, my biggest issue is, and it's easy to say, I don't give a flyer about any of this other stuff. My biggest issue is that, I operate at 2% margins because I'm in the grocery business, and suddenly I've got, I can't compete, or I can't get the goods at all.
Yeah.
Heck yes. Yeah. Heck yes. So we need, and this is off topic a little bit, but we do need to remember, that outside of this country, people are having the same panic, not being able to access our market. So I have hope. Again, not a political comment at all. Well, I have hope.
And I'm sorry to dominate the conversation, but there's one other point I wanted to make is that
Please.
One of the things that I have done successfully is go to where the client is at. Meet the client where he's at or she's at. And this is a topic that you can get some knowledge around and meet the client where they're at that can lead to a discussion of getting all the things in level 1 that are important.
Yes, and then you're just hit the nail on the head, right? This is
lead to engagement, but go to where the client is at. I personally feel that the client is really at focusing on where today.
Yeah, well, it was a heck of a lot easier to talk about the inevitable recession before last week, right?
Your timing on this, I'm putting this out, was a little bit challenging.
I did not know, and once I'd committed to doing this, but we're talking about it. We're grown-ups, we're pros. And let's talk about it, because it doesn't change. It exacerbates how our clients are feeling right now. And now we may be the last person they want to hear from. I would hope that's not the case. Anyway.
One thought that comes to mind, and this is a little bit of a long shot, but through this community, we've got a pretty vast network of connections. And what you're describing is a client that needs a stent or a kidney transplant, right? I mean, they've basically been cut off from their line of business, or a major part of it. And one of the things that as advisors we could do to help, or at least take a shot, offering some goodwill, is to say, look, I've got a pretty vast network. Tell me what you need. Let me put it out there. And we can do that semi-anonymously. And who knows, somebody on the other end of the growth drive, phone tree might have somebody that could provide something for them. It's happened where somebody says, yeah, I've got somebody who's been through the same thing. They've done this, they've done that. Even if you come back empty-handed, at least we've given it a go, and they'll remember that we were standing in there with them with a bucket when everybody else was missing from the conversation.
That's a great point, Tim. Thanks.
Or Tim, also find out what the issues are and then put it out to the community and come back to the client with a proposed solution.
Yeah.
And then you look like the hero rather than the community, which.
And people out there, don't assume that even the most arcane. I took a call this morning. Do you think anyone in the community, knows a sawmill operator? And the answer is yes. I mean, that's pretty arcane, but it's a very good point. The community itself is a huge resource that we can bring to bear to our clients' benefit. And I said it in my initial blog post, and I think we're all saying it here today. This isn't if you pay me $5,000, I will. This is, hey, let's just talk. And they said, there's no bill. Let's just sit down and talk, and let's talk through what you're experiencing, maybe, and see where that conversation, how that conversation might help you. And yeah, man. Well, guys, we have ticked over the time by a couple of minutes. Any final comments, thoughts before we wrap this up? Nope. Okay.
Very insightful. Thank you.
Awesome. Guys, thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. And if we can be of any help, we're here. We're committed to your success. Please give us a call. So thanks, and have a great day. Good luck out.